While daylight savings time has ended, the battle to expand or shorten the points lead has just begun coming into tonight. Welcome to the virtual Fairbury American Legion Speedway, located in Fairbury, Illinois, with years of racing that have taken place in these fairgrounds. Not only does it have the lap records to show for it, but the Prairie Dirt Classic winners dating back to 1990 as well. For tonight, we reach race number 6, the midway race of season 5 for Dirt Shootout Series presented by the Bootleg Racing League, and you'll catch it all right here on the Global SimRacing channel. I'm Gary Weaver, and alongside me is co-commentator DJ Clark. Sean Ambrose is in the director's booth, and he is using cameras provided to us by Dougie Beard. To see how these Dirt Street Dogs handle around this quarter mile, we'll pass it off to our GSRC lap guide.
Welcome to Fairbury Speedway, a 3-time UMP Dirt Car Track of the Year, and home of the Prairie Dirt Classic, one of the premier summer events in the upper Midwest featuring the World of Outlaws late models. Racing here dates back to horse racing in the late 1800s. As time evolved, a different kind of horsepower took over, and at one point, wood was even the surface here, as in 1917, World War I Medal of Honor recipient Eddie Rickenbacker attempted to break a world speed record on a motorcycle. Racing continued on through the 20s, but the Great Depression and then World War II put a damper on the motors. The 40s were a boon though, with names like Bettenhausen took their midgets around the newly carved out 1/5 mile oval. Stock cars joined the fray, and before you knew it, had taken over prominence in an otherwise open-wheel dominated part of the country. After several evolutions and modernizations, Fairbury Speedway has become its quarter-mile self, hosting weekly late model, modifieds, and street stock races. The stock car fendered variety of racing really dominates the weekly program here in north central Illinois. But you open-wheel fans, don't fret. Many regional series make stops here as well, so on any given weekend you are bound to find sprint cars, both the winged and non-winged variety, and midgets, making runs around Fairbury in addition to the home track contingent. Even the big boys, the World of Outlaws sprint cars, come here. Basically, if we have the dirt car on iRacing, it runs right here at Fairbury Speedway.
And that is a look at Fairbury American Legion Speedway with our GSRC lap guide. And with a little bit more info, we're going to go ahead and pass it off to DJ Clark. DJ?
Hey, Gary, it is great to be here at one of the great short dirt tracks in the country. Now, watching as these guys make their way around the track, it looks like the name of the game tonight is going to be momentum, momentum, momentum. That means riding the middle or high lines as much as you can, and until at least they get super rubbered in and get too slick to do anything, as trying to get these cars to go down low is just going to cost you all kinds of speed. As we've talked about before, they are super, super heavy cars, so getting them down to that low line, getting them turned around these tight confines of Fairbury, it's just going to cost you too much, so watch that middle and high line all night.
Middle and high line, like you mentioned, will be the things to watch. Coming into tonight with your race details, well, it's going to be round number 6 of 11. Once again, the halfway point of the 5th season. These drivers, as always, will be utilizing the Dirt Street Stock for tonight with a heat race format. 24 cars will make the feature, and everyone is all on the exact same setup for tonight. And with our championship details, we'll pass it off once again to DJ.
Well, Gary, you said it at the top of the broadcast. The name of the game is, can anybody catch Bobby Rafferty tonight? He currently sits on top with 408 points, just cranking out win after win after win this season. Behind him is Mr. Consistent, though, John Hine, only 77 points back. He's going to be the most likely to be able to claw something into Rafferty. Behind them, after a run a couple of really good races, Kenny Kibbe, followed by J.R. Shepard and Steven Spees behind them in 5th, 130 points back of Rafferty.
And that is our championship details. And well, as these drivers make their way around for warm-up continuously, well, we'd like to go ahead and let you know who is sponsoring these heat races coming up for tonight. And that, of course, is Jim Beaver eSports, where, well, they are the official esports team of Jim Beaver and the General Tire Down and Dirty Show powered by Polaris Razor. You can follow the team at jimbeaveresports.com, or you can go ahead and check out their social media going from Facebook, to Twitter, or even to Instagram to keep up with their drivers in iRacing World Championships, private leagues, and so much more. And next, of course, a longtime sponsor is the Cruise Shop, which has been in operation since 1986. They are a team of highly experienced travel agents that have a huge passion for travel. They specialize in cruises, all-inclusive resorts, escorted tours, Disney and family travel, groups, honeymoons, and even weddings. They'd love the opportunity to help you plan your next vacation, and you can give them a call today at 260-755-6125, or you can visit thecruiseshopfw.com. Remember that they are dedicated to fulfilling their clients' dreams, one destination at a time. And right now, DJ, well, taking a look right on board with J.R. Shepherd, so slow off the corner. In fact, he might go ahead and take it back into the infield, but some drivers trying to run the inside lane.
Yeah, it looks like everybody's just trying to experiment with it, figuring out what the track's going to be like tonight. But anybody who's tried to go down on that low line, Shepherd there earlier, I saw Daniel Vaught doing it a little bit as well. Nobody's really able to make it work. They're just getting past like sitting ducks. Now, as the sun goes down here a little bit more, we may see it come into play, especially if, as we mentioned earlier, the top or middle line really starts to rubber in and there becomes a major lap of grip. But I really don't see anybody being successful running super low here tonight.
Drivers may be trying to take that option away, but like you mentioned, it's so slow on that inside lane as we ride on board with Justin Morton, and you can see just from the tire tracks even how close some of these drivers are getting off the wall off turn number 2, and it's going to be something to keep a very close eye on. As always, you have to get the cushion, the right rear tire on that dirt cushion to get as much speed as possible, and well, you're just riding that wall every single time. Luckily, these cars are built very sturdily around here. So, well, even if you do make a bit of contact with the wall, luckily, well, you'll be just fine.
Yeah, they'll be able to keep going, as we've seen a couple of times. If you make a little bit of contact with a car or a wall, somehow you miraculously go faster. So that's just sort of one of the weird intricacies of the dirt street stocks. But as we continue to ride on with Morton here, you know, talking about how close you have to get to that wall, what makes Fairbury so challenging, aside from the fact that it is a true short bull ring, only clocking in a quarter of a mile, is the fact that there's virtually no banking. You know, the official website categorizes the track as semi-banked, but I'm telling you, when you're on board one of these street stocks driving it around, there is almost no banking to speak of.
Yeah, this track is almost, by the looks of it, almost a New Hampshire of sorts, just a bit of dirt and a little bit wider and a bit longer as well in terms of the track length. And, well, I did mention as well a bit earlier being lap times with lap records having to show for it. Well, interestingly enough, the top time here, well, as you see J.R. Shepherd's last lap as well, top time here for tonight so far is set by Kenny Kibbe with a 14.938. The lowest lap record at Fairbury Speedway in their stock car is a 14.833 set by Jeremy Nichols back in 2018. Well, that's if Kenny Kibbe is close within that time, I'd be wondering, well, where would Bobby Rafferty come into play throughout the night?
It's going to be interesting to see the two of them just separated by a very, very close margin of 0.05 of a second. So we've seen this before, though. Rafferty just kind of holds back a little bit in practice and qualifying even. But when it comes to the heat races, when it comes to getting the power down and getting into our full-length feature, Rafferty really just knows how to put the pressure down and, most importantly, lead off of restarts and stay in the lead. So, yes, Rafferty may not be top of the timesheets right now, but rest assured he'll be up there by the end of the race.
I would not doubt that in any way, shape, or form. Just under 5 minutes remaining, and, well, this could be the track state to come here within the feature event. A little bit later on, once the sun starts to set throughout the evening, again, just consistently rubbered in throughout the top side. A certain lane as well, about a lane and a half down from the outside lane is where that's rubbered in. Taking a look right now at the 90 of Daniel Vaught. See, it makes his rounds over on the low side, interestingly enough. So might be trying something new while he still has the chance.
Yeah, I think a lot of these guys that are trying that low line, they're just experimenting. You know, it's one of the things that is great about dirt racing is that the track just changes minute by minute. We heard him talking about it last week when we were out at Lanier about, well, we weren't sure if this line was going to come in or not. So these guys just trying to figure out what it's going to feel like today and what the track will be telling them to run.
Especially not only that, but the car as well, how it handles is really the key thing. The key thing that they will very much be going off of as the night continues on and the track begins to slick up or maybe even soften up a little bit, trying to find speed in the preferred lane. But again, top and middle lane usually preferred, maybe the inside if you want to try something out, but you'd have to have one heck of a slide job to try and pull something off.
Yeah, that's really going to be the only way to get it to go, is to throw a slider hard into those corners. Is, I think, running a true low lane all the way around. You're just not going to get the traction off of the low line to be able to speed up out of the corner, especially with somebody coming out real wide around there and getting the momentum to run.
95 of John Wilson appears to be running a new paint livery for tonight. A very nice purple for tonight's race. Very noticeable. It's quite beautiful.
Yeah, it really is. You don't see a whole lot of purple race cars out on the track, but I always find them quite stunning. You see him getting up there a little too much into the gray. I think he got his right rear tire just over the lip of the cushion there. He's going to come back onto that middle line now as he works his way back around and crosses the start-finish line. So Wilson just trying some things out here.
And I do not blame him. In fact, the car just behind him is Chris Davis, who's 5th place in the standings. He's running quite significantly higher. Of course, the preferred top lane, there he is in the background, you see. And again, everyone's just making their rounds, trying to figure out what works. And Wilson may be onto something here. He's not using the very inside lane that's directly next to the tires, but he's also not using the preferred, not exactly middle lane, just about.
As we're going to jump on board here with Steven Spies, you can see that is Justin Morton and Daniel Vaught right ahead of him. You can see there what happens with Vaught going down to that low line, able to get a good run through the first part of the corner, but Wilson just able to fly back there with that outside momentum. Spies also working on that sort of, let's call it the middle line right now. Seems to be working pretty well for him. He's gaining some time there on Wilson, so that top lane starting to rubber in, costing Morton some time. Also running into the wall like that, probably not helping Morton's lap times either.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that. So Spies may have found something to use a bit later on. Then he moves up to the top lane. So practicing passes and alternative lanes, that definitely worked out for Spies, and I'm pretty sure that not only he will remember that, but also Justin Morton, considering, well, he got passed, and maybe Jared Shepard just over there in the background. He might be taking some notes as well.
Yeah, that's the other thing about dirt racing, is it's not just what your car's doing, but you want to see what the guys who are running fast are doing, where they're putting the car and where they're getting those lap times. So driving dirt, it's really all about looking at everything around you on the track, not just what your car is doing.
Just under a minute left, and well, if you're someone who likes to set a quick time right in the final seconds, well, this is the time to do that. About 14 to 15 seconds per lap. Well, you have enough to set in 2 laps. Unfortunately for Spies and Vaught, that will not be the case. Taking a look at Chris Davis, just trying to figure out what he's going to do, trying to figure out what line he's running with these final 30 seconds.
And as they tick down here, Gary, the guys that I'm noticing well down the order are J.R. Shepard and Steven Spies. Shepard in 12th, Spies in 7th. So these guys are going to have some work cut out for them if this is their actual pace when we get to qualifying.
That pace will be very important in these next few seconds, depending on who's going out and when. And while we do have the time, well, we'd like to take a look at the weather. It's a nice and steady 79 degrees air temperature, 72 degrees track temperature. A bit of northwest wind at 5 miles per hour. Won't be too much with 55% humidity. Again, something to, well, maybe keep an eye on going into later tonight. And as we go into qualifying, there it goes, 69 degrees track temperature. So a little bit cooler and maybe just a bit more grip heading into this session.
Yeah, we've seen that tradition sort of pan out across the races we've run. You run in these sunset hours as the sun goes down, track gets a little bit faster. So that's something to keep in mind as we watch here. That is John Wilson starting out on his qualifying run with that new purple livery.
John Wilson will be, at the moment, the first one to cross the start-finish line to start his timed lap, as well as just a couple other drivers. Where does the 75 sit will be the question as he makes his way off of turn number 4 across the start-finish line. He will go at least 3rd place for the time being, and Bobby Rafferty goes up to the top of the post.
And there you see Rafferty, really no surprise. He's able to push that a little bit. A 15.0, that's not the fastest time we've seen here today, but John Wilson working that middle to low line as we jump over here to Jason Menda, coming across the line at a 16.369. That is a timed lap, very off pace for him, as here goes Rafferty, unable to improve.
This may be the key thing, as we're going to stick with Bobby Rafferty, and looks like he'll actually have a chance at the inside lane. I'll take a look at John Hine, who's running about a lane higher. Interestingly enough, he'll cross the start-finish line once again, a 10th slower just about, but he's almost on pace to match his time, just by about a 10th. It looks like he'll migrate up to the outside lane.
Yeah, he's going to try to work on that momentum. That low line not really working for Hine. He's got some good power there, able to get it nice and quick, but that outside lane not working for him either. Only able to go with a 15.6. That's about 0.3 slower than what he did. Brandon Proudfoot now sitting behind Rafferty, the teammate. Good to see him back in the order, about 8 thousandths of a second back, as here comes Michael Redding on his hot lap.
Michael Redding, a very familiar name, has been sitting about 5th to 10th place throughout these past few races, but has gotten a couple podium positions in the past, so definitely not someone to count out, as he'll cross the start-finish line again about a 10th of a second slower, common pattern, as Brendan Proudfoot goes up to the top of the charts from almost, well, not exactly out of nowhere, to say the least, but a great job by Proudfoot as he'll slowly make his way back. Redding will try and complete his qualifying times as quickly as possible.
Redding able to get a little bit better there as we watch Ron Snyder coming on, working that high lane there, able to improve his time with a 15.47. J.R. Shepard now coming across the line with a 15.292. That is going to bump him up to 6th place, as there goes Ron Snyder again. He comes out of turn 4. Ooh, car gets a little squirrely there, as I think he's just going to take it into the pits, as here comes Kenny Kibbe on his current lap, taking the high line, and there's Brandon Proudfoot again, working a low line that didn't end up working as he hit the inside tires there, but Kenny Kibbe there on the high line.
Kibbe going to be the last driver to set a qualifying time. He'll cross the start-finish line, and it looks like no time that time around at the line. He does have 2 more attempts with 4 qualifying laps in total. Justin Morton going to be possibly, by the looks of it, making his practice rounds. Kibbe crosses the line once again. That lap not valid, as he did hit the outside wall, so Kibbe's got 2 more chances to set a time here.
He's really got to be pushing. Thankfully, we're seeing a little bit of a counter trend. He's going to hit the wall again. That's going to be another invalidation, so Kibbe's only got 1 shot at this. This is it if he doesn't want to start dead last in the field.
We'll see as he makes his way through turns 3 and 4 for the last time. Just barely hits the wall. We'll see if that is counted or not. Crossing the start-finish line, it is not. So Kenny Kibbe pushing just that bit too hard, enough for him to start dead last. But he will get a chance to immediately move on to the feature going into these next heat races. Once again, brought to you by Jim at Beaver eSports, and by the looks of it, it should be, once I double check here, I believe 18 drivers going into tonight's event, so no one will be going home, to the relief of, well, everyone.
And that's a real heartbreaker there for Kenny Kibbe, currently sitting 3rd in points. But as you've seen in the last couple of races, having those guys out of position, whether it be in the heats or in the feature itself, going to make for a very exciting way to watch the race. So Kibbe will definitely be one on the move here as we get into heat races tonight.
10 seconds counting down in qualifying. The anticipation will be rising up. And, well, this is going to be quite a first heat race coming into tonight, as the checkered flag flies for qualifying. Heat race number 1 is already set. And, well, that starting grid will be as follows going into this, where it's going to be Brendan Proudfoot starting off in first place, getting the pole qualifying time. J.R. Shepard will start second, and 3rd place is going to be Justin Morton.
4th place will be John Hines, followed by Bobby Hayes and Jason Menda. This is going to be a really exciting one to watch here, Gary.
That's going to be something to very much keep an eye on. Brendan Proudfoot has not really had the best luck since, well, pretty much race number 1 all the way back at Eldora. And he has been at least trying to race as much as possible. And this could be the thing that, well, at least gives him a little bit of a morale boost. Unfortunately, nothing doing in the points, but this could help him out, shake things up as well.
It could, and when you look at the names in this, these are the guys that you normally see at the pointy end of our feature races between Morton, Hayes, Shepard, and Proudfoot. That's 4 of them. Only 3 advanced to the A main out of this. So I think you're going to see a real fierce battle here for that final transfer position in 3rd.
As the drivers make their way onto the back straightaway, the pace truck pulls off. The field is in control of that number 22 of Brendan Proudfoot, who goes down and away in the middle of turns 3 and 4, and just like that, he's down and away. He's got a very successful lead, and side by side for 2nd place between J.R. Shepard and Justin Morton. Sitting just behind is John Hine.
Little bit of a scruffy start there from Shepard, but he was able to collect himself as Morton driving down to the inside, trying to get something doing, but that middle lane really working wonders for Shepard. John Hine on the meantime, going to the outside there of Justin Morton. Everybody trying to get their cars straightened out here. They dive down into the turns again. Just anything to happen here. Morton and Hine just neck and neck.
Jason Menda and Bobby Hayes will be 5th and 6th, lurking if anything does happen to these 2 side-by-side drivers. If anything does happen between Morton and Hine. And interestingly enough, well, the outside lane is of course preferred, but considering it's still a bit slicked up, some drivers have now migrated to the inside lane, and they continue to wear that in as Hine hits the wall off of turn number 2, still able to get a great burst of momentum into turn 3 and 4, maybe a bit too much. Well, Justin Morton hanging on to the inside, as on the back, Jason Menda had a little bit of over-rotation. He does hang on to it.
And the leaders here are going to cross the start-finish line to get the white flag. Hine really able to put that car down, really slapping the wall left, right, and center, but able to keep relatively level with Justin Morton. This may be a race to the line for 3rd.
Brendan Proudfoot running away with J.R. Shepard a little bit ways back in 2nd place. Those 2 will move immediately onto the feature, and the battle for 3rd just behind it, side by side across the start-finish line and in a photo finish, and it goes to, by the looks of scoring, John Hine going into 2nd place, or 3rd place rather, going on into the feature. Justin Morton, Bobby Hayes, Jason Menda will go into the B main.
Big time hard there for Justin Morton. But as we get ready to grid up for this 2nd heat race, it's going to be Bobby Rafferty beside Daniel Vaught, J.R. Sharp, excuse me. That's Sharp lining up in 3rd, Chris Davis, Ron Snyder, and Cody Castleman in 6th.
Jeff Sharp in that number 19 already has an easy advance at the moment, at least, as of the starting grid to go into the feature already, but at the same time, well, he is trying to the inside lane. I would say that as a disadvantage, but considering on how that last and that first heat race ran, I'm starting to think, well, with that inside lane not being as rubbered in as the outside, if drivers continue to rubber that very inside lane in, everyone could be running the middle at some point.
I think that's what we're going to see as the course of this night goes along, as everybody just sort of migrating to the middle. Daniel Vaught and Bobby Rafferty getting a little punchy there, getting close to each other as they get ready to take the green flag.
Bobby Rafferty waits until the green flag is thrown. He is down and away, and immediately right to the outside lane as Daniel Vaught. Chris Davis is going to split 3 wide as Sharp falls back. Side by side for 2nd between Davis and Vaught as they now go single file into turn 3.
Vaught able to really get the power down there using that high lane to the momentum. I thought that that was going to be Sharp able to really challenge at the beginning, but nothing really doing there as this battle for 2nd place continues. Daniel Vaught gets into the wall, bumping and rubbing there a little bit with Chris Davis, but both of them able to continue on.
Davis utilizing that inside lane. Vaught thinks, well, you know what, I'm going to use that too, and he'll dive down to the inside as Rafferty sets the fast time. No momentum off the corner just yet for Vaught, and I think actually Daniel Vaught had locked up his left front tire just for a moment on corner entry there, but luckily he does hang on to the car, keeps it under control, and doesn't over-rotate.
Yeah, he's able to keep it going, gets super wide there off the corner, and now Cody Castleman's starting to maybe think about taking a look up the inside of him. Just a quick note there, you can see on the left side of your screen, Jeff Sharp has parked the car for this heat race, so he's just going to wait until the B main to try something.
At the moment, it is single file between relatively everybody, and no challenge coming at the moment for Bobby Rafferty as he takes the white flag for heat race number 2. Does Chris Davis have anything left for turns 3 and 4? He would be too far back by the looks of it alone. So an easy heat race win and an easy advance for Bobby Rafferty. Second place is Chris Davis, and coming in third place is Daniel Vaught. Cody Castleman, Ron Snyder, and Jeff Sharp will go into that B main.
Not exactly sure that what happened to Sharp, but as we start to grid up for 3, he will be looking to the B main to try to improve his position going forward.
Coming into the final heat race for tonight, it'll be Steven Spees with a new paint wrap starting off on the front row. Michael Redding to his outside in number 30, and then Joe Segala in third place, a name to keep an eye on as we head throughout tonight. John Wilson in fourth, Austin Belke will start fifth, and Kenny Kibbe, who could not set a qualifying time, will start in sixth place. And well, DJ, I'm pretty sure, well, we could be reading each other's minds here, but I'm pretty sure we're both thinking that Kibbe is just going to immediately, well, utilize what he's done in qualifying, just run that top side.
I have to think he will. I mean, his times are relatively good, but the iRacing system obviously invalidating them because a little bit of wall riding there. But Kibbe's really the one to watch in this heat race. I think he's going to be the fun one to watch, but there's some good names up front as well to keep an eye on.
Steven Spees and Michael Redding, great runners when they get up to that front row. And we'll see how well they can defend here, if they even need to defend in this final heat race coming into tonight. Spees goes down and away, almost makes it immediately single file. Michael Redding takes up to the top side. Everyone else figures out what lane they want in these opening laps.
Everybody's starting to get going there as Redding really challenging Spees here for the lead. Both of them running counter sides here, but Spees able to get about a car's width in front. He's going to keep going as you see the action there behind. Woo, little bit of a cutoff there from Michael Redding to Joe Segala, as now Redding dives down to the inside trying to challenge Spees for the lead.
Michael Redding not waiting until the final lap. He wants to get that pass done and out of the way as soon as pretty much possible. And in fact, with that low exit off turn number 2, he could try and challenge. Goes up instead to the outside lane, and a bit too much as he collects the outside wall.
Collects a little bit, way too much there. Thought for a second Joe Segala was going to be able to challenge, but he's now under a major attack by Kenny Kibbe, storming his way up through the field. Kenny stalls a little bit through the mid corner there, runs up against the wall as they come to the line with 2 to go.
Kibbe nearly over rotates, nearly spun out in turn number 4. He manages to get the hang of the car, and Joe Segala going to be under very heavy defense here. He's going to have to defend a lot coming into this final lap. White flag is out for the 55 of Steven Spees, who leads. Michael Redding not able to catch back up. Kenny Kibbe did get by Joe Segala, in fact, in turns 3 and 4. So by the looks of this, well, Steven Spees will come off turn number 4 and collect the checkered flag as he moves on to the feature event. Michael Redding, second place. Third place, Kenny Kibbe, Joe Segala, John Wilson, Austin Belke will go to the B main.
And I was watching that battle between Segala and Kibbe, Gary, and I've got to tell you, that was more of a mistake there from Segala. He just caught a little bit of the grass coming out of turn 4, got him a little bit squirrely, and Kibbe able to maintain the momentum to keep himself going forward and get him a one-way ticket to the A main.
And now, finally, the consolation event, the B main. It's going to be led by Justin Morton. Second place is going to be Cody Castleman. Joe Segala will be third. Fourth place is going to be Bobby Hayes, with Ron Snyder rounding out the top 5.
In sixth is going to be John Wilson, followed by Jason Menda. Jeff Sharp behind him, and Austin Belke rounding out your B main in ninth.
Of course, the B main now will just set up where everyone else will be starting in the feature events after a quick 5-minute warm-up after this event. 10 laps, Though relatively a little bit of a longer run for these drivers, and they can kind of get a slight feel for about a quarter of for about how a quarter of the race may run.
It may end up helping some of these guys a little bit if they get a better feel how the track's going to be when it is more worn in. Obviously, we do send out the digital water trucks after this B main and before practice, but we're ready to take the green flag here in the B main.
And Justin Morton eager to get on that loud pedal. He waits and he goes right when he has the chance, and that is a great start by Justin Morton. Cody Castleman runs out the middle lane. Joe Segal will try and sneak his way to the inside in third as they make contact.
And Castleman and Segala just getting into each other there a little bit, but Segala going to keep the pressure up, go to that inside line, really get a good run here. He is forcing Castleman out to the outside. Segala now, if he can get the power down off of this corner correctly, I think he'll have the position, and indeed he does as Castleman runs up into the wall.
And that outside wall, or hitting the outside wall, will hurt his entry up in the background. That was Austin Belke. He is able to hang on to it, just a bit too wide of an entry. Take a look back at the rest of the field on board here of Joe Segala, trying to just hang on to that second place position. So we have more contact in the back and a spin actually. Jeff Sharp in the 75, or Jeff Sharp in the 19, the 75 of John Wilson. They're able to get it back going after quick contact in turn 4.
So no yellow flag here, but you can see them as they're back on their way. Justin Morton just solidly in command of this race, but the battle for P4 right now really starting to pick up between Ron Snyder and Bobby Hayes.
The battle is something to definitely keep in mind. Looks like John Wilson had just entered a bit too hard, over-rotated, and unfortunately Jeff Sharp was there, caught Jeff Sharp off guard. But again, no caution, everyone's able to hang on to it. And for the second half of this race, Castleman trying to defend as Ron Snyder is trying to get around the outside on top of the back bumper there on the entry to turn number 3.
Getting a little punchy there from Castleman, throwing out his tail in an almost defensive way, but Snyder able to read that absolutely perfectly. He had to check up a little bit, though. That's going to cost him. You see Snyder running that sort of middle line, getting his right rears up into the gray a little bit. Both guys now able to just keep a good pace going as Snyder again starting to reel him in a little bit, but with only 2 laps to go, it's going to be very, very hard pressed for Snyder to make a move here.
We'll see if Snyder is able to just get that third place position in on this final lap, actually, the lap and a half, as Justin Morton will make his way around turns 3 and 4, crosses the start-finish line to take that white flag. Joe Segala, quite a ways back, he will not be able to challenge. However, they may have a battle between himself and Castleman. Castleman not able to get the preferred entry. So Justin Morton taking the high lane will cross the start-finish line, and he'll finish off in that first place position. Joe Segala second, Cody Castleman third place, Snyder fourth, Menda fifth, Bobby Hayes, Austin Belke, John Wilson, and Jeff Sharp rounding out that field. And that is the order they will start behind the top 10, I believe. Correction, behind the top 9 going into the feature event. And now, well, DJ, it's time for the warm-up and time to see how this track will fare.
Yeah, we've sent out the water trucks, kind of reset the track just a little bit, and now it's time for drivers to really get a feel of how the new way it's going to feel is going to be. I think you're going to see guys here in this warm-up experimenting with every lane that we can, as we saw, that middle to high lane really being the preferred one in the heat in the warm-up races. But if you're able to get a little bit lower and get it just right, it is not impossible to get a move done on the low side.
It's definitely not impossible in any way, shape, or form to get that move done on the inside. So we'll see if anyone's a bit more daring to run that inside lane, and that fast lap is going to be popping up quite a bit until I'd say about 3.5 minutes left. And in fact, that may be already proving me wrong, at least for the moment.
Yeah, just a little bit. Those times are going to start to fall a little bit, but you can see these guys as they thunder on by their great shot by Dougie Beard down on the cameras there. You can just see how close they're all following as there's Chris Davis and Bobby Rafferty maybe just starting to see what it's going to be like to be racing side by side as the feature, as those I think are 2 of the favorites for the feature race tonight.
That's definitely going to be the favorites coming into tonight. Chris Davis, interestingly enough, currently holds on to that top spot, at least for the time being. Looking at Bobby Rafferty's time, double checking just to make sure as he gets shuffled down the order. Well, Rafferty's fast lap here in the warm-up session. Looks at 15.507, so this new surface, this new track surface, not helping him out too much. He looks to prefer, his car looks to prefer rather, a more of a worn-in surface.
Well, if it does, it'll certainly help him in the later stages of the A main. But as for right now, that time gotta be looking a little bit worrying for him. Able to boost himself a little bit here up to 4th place with a 15.378. But you can see all these guys here. He's taking a consistent line time in and time out. Like we said, just experimenting. You see Davis there diving down super low. As there goes Redding as well, all of them now trying this low line, figuring out where that grip is. You've got to be careful though, if you go down to that super low line, there are those big tractor tires and they will catch you out and make you go for a little ride there if you're not careful.
Yeah, and those big tractor tires are something that in some cases you should aim for, but not aim for to hit, but rather aim for to just barely glance by, as Michael Redding has taken over that top spot. So everyone using the inside lane, and well, this could be a little bit of a recurring pattern here, and maybe not everyone wants to use the outside lane. We're in the inside, and then start to slowly move up to the outside lane throughout the 40-lap event.
It's a very good theory on that, Gary. You know, in that B main, we saw Justin Morton really sticking to that high line pretty much throughout, and he got some consistent times there. But Joe Segala and some of the folks behind him able to get some really nice moves done, cutting down onto the low side. So it's going to be interesting to see, you know, what's the preferred lane if you just want to hold your place, and maybe what's the lane to make a pass on. That could be a difference we see.
We'll see exactly how that occurs. Of course, that's just going off of what we saw in the B main with the worn track. These drivers have 5 minutes to wear this track down, and well, it's not exactly 1 lap per, of course it's 1 lap per every car on track. So take 18 cars, put them all on the track at once, and this track is not getting exactly 1 lap, but it's getting multiple laps done in by many drivers. So say 18 drivers do 5 laps, well, this track would essentially at that point have about 90 laps in on it. Well, it may not seem like it.
Gary, I commend you. I was trying to think out that math in my head, and I could not get to it. So kudos to you for being able to do that. As there you see Brandon Proudfoot making some friends with the outside wall. He's just riding that super high line, trying to figure it. As that's John Hine right in front of him, Bobby Rafferty behind Justin Morton, and popping in and out on the front of your screen there, that is J.R. Shepard. So that's pretty much your big boys when it comes to guys we've talked about a lot. Everybody figuring it out there, as that is Proudfoot and Hine going side by side. Probably a preview of what's to come later in the same main.
And that preview wants to come will be something to, well, actually become a reality in the next, technically 15 seconds when warm-up ends, but give a little bit more time for gridding and, of course, the anticipation of the pace lap. And with, like you mentioned earlier, DJ, is that the sun's setting and falling into night by the end of this event. Well, with how quickly this event is moving on, I'm sure that maybe that this race will be finishing just as the lights maybe even activate, but not before pure nightfall.
No, I think that's about right. We've seen the track temperature fall a couple of degrees here, so that'll be a major storyline to tell as we get ready to grid up.
And there's the track temperature going back down, just making sure that the thermometers are actually properly calibrated. 70 degrees in track temperature. So there it is. And well, here is your starting grid as well for tonight's 40-lap feature event. It is Brendan Proudfoot with an incredible qualifying lap starting off on the first row. Bobby Rafferty starts on the outside row in second. Third place, Steven Spees. Watch out for him going into tonight. J.R. Shepard will start fourth. Chris Davis will start fifth. Michael Redding on the outside lane starts off in sixth. John Hine starts off in seventh. Eighth place is Daniel Vaught. And rounding out the top 9 drivers who have qualified is Kenny Kibbe.
Starting off in 10th is going to be Justin Morton, the B main winner, followed by Joe Segala and Cody Castleman. Behind them in 13th is Ron Snyder, followed by Jason Menda. Bobby Hayes in 15th, Austin Belke in 16th, John Wilson in 17th, and Jeff Sharp, after parking the car in the B main, will be rolling off tonight in the 18th spot.
I have a correction on what I said. More of the top 9 drivers that made their way in through the heat races, not that qualified. But regardless, Brandon Proudfoot, for the first time since Eldora, essentially, will be on the front row, and he will be joined by his teammate in the 7, Bobby Rafferty. And just like the heat race, Brandon Proudfoot goes down on the loud pedal in turns 3 and 4. 40 laps are underway here at Fairbury.
Everybody working their way through turn 1 right now. Looks like they're able to get through nice and cleanly. Bobby Rafferty falling back a little bit. Steven Spees really diving down to that inside, making it work nice and hard. And now J.R. Shepard trying to take a piece of Rafferty, but not going to happen there. Rafferty going to that middle lane, trying to make something work as we've got our first caution out here tonight.
I believe by the looks of it, John Wilson in the 75 made a little bit of contact with the inside tire barriers. Actually, correction, a little bit of contact with the 19 and a quick spin from John Wilson in the back of the field.
As here we go, you can see Wilson in that 75 purple machine. He comes in there. That's the 19 of Jeff Sharp. The two of them just come together. I don't think Sharp anticipated Wilson slowing down so much through the corner. So just a little bit of dink there. Both cars able to continue on, and we'll be able to get back under green here shortly.
Yeah, totally normal. I see what Jeff Sharp was going for there. Saw the 75 Wilson move up the track, dives down to the inside, and then Wilson goes down to arc off the corner and carry momentum on the low side. So just a regular racing incident between those two drivers. Really nothing too major as the lights immediately go off on the track for that quick spin. So it's Brandon Proudfoot once again on the front row, but this time on the outside row is Steven Spees. Rafferty will be on the inside, J.R. Shepard on the outside in 4th.
Be interesting to see if that is a line thing of why Spees was able to get around him or what it is, but here comes Proudfoot putting down the power. Spees able to stay right with him and get some good momentum through that first corner. He's going to try to make a move on Proudfoot, but it's not going to be close enough, trying to continue it on as everybody gets through turn 1 cleanly.
Spees did a great job at matching that Rafferty up on the tractor tires, and that'll slow him up. Spees goes down to the inside for the lead, and just like that, well, maybe not so quickly, I should say, but Steven Spees able to swap lanes with Brandon Proudfoot. Everyone figuring out where they're going to be running for the next few laps before things get worn in. These two are practically dead even. Spees maybe going into the corner a bit too much as he'll try to hang on to it. 3 cars on the outside. Huge crash in the back. That's a 7 of Bobby Rafferty.
Oh, I just saw out of the corner of my screen him go nose first into the wall. That is going to be Rafferty's day done. He is on his hood as we jump back to the replay on board with Rafferty. He's coming into the corner hot, just completely doesn't have any grip. He and Davis get together and bam! Oh, I'm not even sure what happened to him on that, Gary.
I don't think the gyro cam knows what happened either. We'll take a look up above, and Davis slides up just a bit too much, but it's something that happens. But unfortunately for Rafferty, he got the unlucky bit as well as, just 2 other drivers there up on the outside. Couldn't be double checking, but huge contact and not really the best race for Bobby Rafferty. As looks like the other driver that went upside down was Bobby Hayes, and that was from contact by the looks of it, the 29 of Ron Snyder.
Snyder as well, as we now have Cody Castleman and Kenny Kibbe popping their way into the pits, maybe just trying to get a little bit of repairs done on the car. Not sure what they're doing in there necessarily, but line back up here, them getting ready to go for green.
Steven Spees in control. Will he do the same thing that Proudfoot does? Yes. Proudfoot anticipating the exact same thing. Both of these two are matched even on restart speed. It's a great thing that they're both on the front row so that we can visually see that. A few cars are making contact with the outside wall. They managed to hang on to it. Everyone fanning out. Redding 3 wide middle as Justin Morton sneaks his way by on the outside for 3rd.
Yeah, Justin Morton starting to smell a little bit of blood in the water there, as with Chris Davis lining up behind Michael Redding, but up front it is still side-by-side action between Steven Spees and J.R. Proudfoot. Proudfoot now looks like he's got the upper hand running that high line as Brandon Proudfoot now working his way there, dinks in the wall a little bit. Spees having to fall behind it. Morton now takes over 2nd place.
I think that lane is starting to become that incredibly preferred lane, and Spees know that. He's slowly but surely making his way up through the corners, but well, by the looks of it, looks like he will decide to stay on that inside lane. So Morton will now be trying to chase down the 22 of Brandon Proudfoot up on the top side, but well, considering that Spees is trying desperately to utilize that inside lane. He knows it's there, but it may not be there quite just yet.
Now it looks like he's just not getting the grip and the turn he needs right at the apex of the corner. As there you see Morton banging across the wall there a little bit, trying to claw in anything on Brandon Proudfoot. But behind them, it looks like Michael Redding may have a move here on Steven Spies as J.R. Shepard sets the fastest lap of the race.
And just as that happens, the caution comes out very, very quickly. And unfortunately, everyone going to be behind the pace car once again. It looks like it's the 71 of John Hine. Looks to be just a lone spin starting in turn 1. Actually got a piece of the outside wall. We'll get that replay here momentarily. There is up on your screen now. Just over there on the inside is Jason Menda. Hine hits the outside wall. It causes his car to over-rotate. Menda was there kind of like another wall in that quick spin in front of Austin Belke is what brought out that caution. So not only Bobby Rafferty, but also second place in points, John Hine making contact as well.
Mr. Consistent there, John Hine, just a heartbreak for him as he pulls his way into the pits now. As up front, the lights are off. Brandon Proudfoot lining up on the inside with Justin Morton to his outside now.
Looks like John Hine was able to take that one allowed fast repair, as well as Bobby Rafferty, but Rafferty chopped a few laps down. Proudfoot brings the field back to the green once again after a bit of contact behind him between the 30 and the 07 by the look of it. And in fact, they almost spin. Menda does spin, catches somebody up on the inside lane, but they do manage to continue on. That somebody was the 90 of Daniel Va. He's able to continue on.
And there you see Brandon Proudfoot running sort of a modified slider line in defense there as now Morton does the same thing. They're going to get together. There's a big kerfuffle. Everybody able to keep going, but that's Proudfoot around it. Now Redding and Morton as there's got to be a yellow.
And there is. It's about 20 cars spin by just many cars trying to get back around now. And we are definitely going to be using this aerial angle to its advantage here. 3 cars, it's 4 wide for a moment. Proudfoot spins, Redding gets into Morton, and then everyone just gets collected in the back, trying to slow up in time. And, well, just like that is maybe about 5 or 6 cars spinning as we're going to be right on board Justin Morton here. Or looking at Justin Morton, who's able to hang on to it, spins around, and there's everybody. You see another 3, 4, 5 cars making contact or spinning, and it looks like the 71 of John Hine was also the one that made a bit of contact.
Oh, going from bad to worse there for John Hine. You know, it looked like there was just that sandwich between Redding, Morton, and Proudfoot coming off of turn 2. They might have been able to catch it, but that sandwich just kind of playing out poorly. As there you see Justin Morton hopping into the pits, going to try to pick up that fast repair for him. This is going to put Steven Spies in control of this race with Chris Davis starting behind him and Joe Zagala in third.
A little bit of a staggered start, maybe a bit of miscommunication going on, but regardless, Steven Spies back up front, and now he decides to utilize the outside lane. Chris Davis thinks, well, he used it earlier, why won't I? So Davis is going to be trying to run that middle lane, trying to follow the entire tracks now of Steven Spies. Proudfoot definitely running the inside lane.
He is, but Spies really able to just put that car wherever he wants to. We're going to jump back to Brandon Proudfoot here. You can see some of the damage on the front of that car as he makes his way across the start-finish line, trying to reel in Chris Davis the best he can, but just running that outside line as Davis just able to pull away down the straights.
Right now, Davis and Spies both pulling away, and that right front damage may have a bit of suspension damage that came along with it because that looks pretty bent in, but if there is suspension damage, he's doing a great job adapting to it. Davis, in fact, over-rotates almost, going down to the inside lane, able to hang on to it. Taking a look at the rest of the field. And my, oh my, Chris Davis definitely trying to hang on to that second place as Proudfoot chases him down. It's 10 laps to go at the start-finish line for Steven Spies.
Proudfoot just throwing absolutely everything he can into that car, blipping and blanging across the wall as best he can, trying to find anything for Davis, but Spies just looks to be in utter control of this race, having moved up to that high line like you said, Gary.
And Spies was able to, of course, know that the inside lane, when it was done, and those 2 cautions did help out that 55 machine. But, well, it's not exactly going to be helping out. What's not going to be helping out Chris Davis is trying that inside lane many times. I can get the idea. He's trying that slide job, but he's letting himself fall into the clutches of that 22 of Brendan Proudfoot. So that second place battle is not over yet.
No, it's not, and here comes Proudfoot down to the inside of Davis. You see him peeking out of the corner of your screen is there. He gets the slide job done. There's going to be a little bit of contact. Davis is forced to back off, and Proudfoot up into second.
Davis not going to let that go. Tries a slide job of his own, and unfortunately it does not stick. And with 6 laps to go at the start-finish line, and a very bent-in right side for Brendan Proudfoot, it's going to be Steven Spies, Brendan Proudfoot, Chris Davis, 1, 2, and 3 at the moment, and a huge breakaway between 4th and 5th being being Michael Redding and J.R. Shepard in that order. Joe Segala trying to close in for 5th, but no dice as of yet.
Look at J.R. Shepard just pulling away from Chris Davis there as now he sets his sights on Steven Spies. He's about probably 4 car lengths back, but going to try to make something happen here. You watch J.R. Shepard working his way around the track behind Michael Redding. Joe Segala working his way this way and that, trying to find something, anything to be able to close that gap.
And speaking of closing the gap, or at least attempting to, Proudfoot may have used everything up at the moment. We'll have to wait and see in these final 3 laps across the start-finish line. Proudfoot pushing so hard that he's been hitting the wall off the corner every single time. You can see just how much he's trying to work that wheel and how much he's trying to get some type of momentum. He is wheeling that car as best as possible, but with 2 laps to go, Steven Spies might have it, DJ.
He might. I thought Spies may have let up there a little bit. His heat dinked the wall through 3 and 4, but able to catch it and hold on to it. Proudfoot just really willing that car forward as hard as he can, but here comes Spies to take the white flag ahead of Brandon Proudfoot.
It's been quite some time since we've seen Steven Spies up at the front of the field. And don't count out Brendan Proudfoot just yet. He'll try one last-ditch effort. A massive slide job into turns 3 and 4. Spies hits the outside wall in anticipation. And it's Steven Spies in the 55 winning here at Fairbury Speedway, breaking the 4-race winning streak that Bobby Rafferty has had before the break. And well, that 1 week break seems to have done Steven Spies very much plenty good, because with the new livery as well, he is victorious at Fairbury.
Great run there from Steven Spies, able to just absolutely capitalize when his rivals got into each other in front of them. Also a good run there for Brandon Proudfoot, able to keep the car going with some heavy damage to the car. So really great performance by everybody here at Fairbury tonight.
We're going to go ahead and go to a quick break before we start our post-race show. Top 3 drivers will be interviewed, and we'll take a look at your finishing results after that. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Welcome back to Fairbury Speedway here on iRacing, and what a race it was, and what a shakeup it was for sure in the points. Well, Steven Spies comes home with a first place position after qualifying in third. We'll get a chance to speak with him in just a few moments. Brendan Proudfoot comes home in second place. Chris Davis rounds out that third place position. Michael Redding finishes fourth, with J.R. Shepard finishing in fifth. Joe Segala, Austin Belkey, Jeff Sharp, Daniel Vaught, and John Hine finished 6th through 10th, respectively.
Coming home in 11th was John Wilson, followed by Jason Menda and Cody Castleman, who was the first of your runners to be a lap down. Behind him, Kenny Kibbe and Bobby Rafferty, who got into that huge accident that we saw. Behind him, Justin Morton, Ron Snyder, and in 18th, your final finisher of the night, Bobby Hayes.
I'm going to go ahead and get a word in with your race winner, the 55 of Steven Spies. Steven, it's been quite some time since we've been able to talk to you, but congratulations on your race win here for tonight. It was an incredible job. You qualified third. You utilized the inside lane within the first few laps, and then, well, that high lane just came in for you.
Yeah, I think I think Brandon got bumped around and dropped back a few places there to maybe no fault of his own. So kind of got handed the lead. Then we kind of had a little bit of a mix-up on that last restart. iRacing got itself a little confused, I think. So that gave me another advantage. So like we always say, never complain about winning. So I'm not going too happy to have it, especially with the group that we've got here.
You've done an incredible job heading into Williams Grove next week. I believe, if I recall correctly, last time I was also on commentary there, you were in a fantastic finish. But regardless, this new wrap seems to have done you very much good.
Yep, Epsilon Sprint Wraps made a new one for the street stock and also my late model and sprint car. And, I've been on a roll. I won a big charity race on Monday night in the street stocks. So this thing's going.
That car is definitely going. We hope to talk to you once again next week at Williams Grove. Congratulations on your win tonight.
Thank you very much. Again, thanks to Team Gambler Motorsports and Epsilon Sprint Wraps for the wrap. Go check him out on Facebook and give our Gambler page a follow on Facebook as well. Anybody that watches BRL here week in, week out, it's always more fun if you got somebody to cheer for. Come cheer for us Gambler guys.
That is the driver, the number 55, your race winner for tonight. And we'll hand it over to DJ Clark, who's standing by with Brandon Proudfoot.
Well, Brandon, it was certainly an event-filled race for you, coming back from some damage with that big accident about halfway through the race. How much were you struggling for control of the car?
Actually wasn't struggling too bad. The car, the way it handled, it was, as long as you had proper throttle control, you were relatively straight wheel in the corner, whether you were on the bottom or the top. But those restarts were definitely tough tonight with how slick the track was.
Yeah, Steven just said the same thing and how everybody got caught out. But it seemed like you were really able to sort of put the car wherever you wanted to, running low, running high. Talk about the evolution of the track tonight.
How the track, it really started out there. Kind of towards the top, and that's where both me and Bobby ran our qualifying laps. And with the changes that iRacing did to the moisture, that top really burns off quick. And the track migrated down towards the middle, and throughout the heat races, you guys seen I was doing that slider line because these cars, they just don't quite have the power to run right around those bottom tires until it gets really, really late. And then once that line goes away, there's a small period where maybe you can run around the tires. Then it's back up to the top again and having fun in the black slick.
Well, it certainly did look like fun, and it's been great to see you back here tonight. We're headed to Williams Grove next week. We're going to be able to see you, and if we are, how do you feel about those long straights?
Definitely going to be fun. It's one of my favorite tracks. I was actually absent because I had the privilege. I bought myself a street stock of my own here the other week. I ran at Bethel Motor Speedway and then at my home track here at Bedford Speedway, which is a half mile, just like Williams Grove. So I'm going to be excited to actually be able to feel the difference between the sim and the car, and I think it's going to be definitely an eye-opener.
Well, we look forward to seeing it. Brandon, before we let you go, anybody you need to thank tonight?
Of course. Fistful of Bourbon, winners get whiskey. Congratulations, Steven. Wish you could have a sip, but I don't know where the heck you're at. General Tire, Polestar ZR, Vision Wheel, Ridge Industries, Dirtfish, JSP XCV Axles, Gibson Performance, Corona, Sant Racing Fabrications, 07 Designs, Chris Leone Motorsport Drop, Grand Pat Mom, Sister, Girlfriend, and you guys doing the broadcast, and BRL for doing the races here this evening.
Well, thanks, Brandon, and congratulations again. It's really great to see you back in the field.
Yep, glad to be back.
And finally, we are here with the 07 of Chris Davis. Chris, you qualified 5th, and you managed to pull off a 3rd place finish after wheeling that car around. You did an incredible job hanging on to that. What a race it was. How was the track surface handling out there for you compared from the start of the night, the heats, and, well, this feature overall?
Yeah, the way BRL has decided to carry over sessions all the way from practice through qualifying, through heat races to warm up to the main event, actually I think helps me out on these short tracks. I tend to be more like a Doug Wolfgang and try and keep it on the bottom. That's where I do better. When the top comes in, I struggle a little bit spinning the tires, especially coming off the turns. So it definitely helped me out. A little bumping and banging that I feel bad about, but that kind of happens here on these short tracks.
And well, luckily you were able to, again, get that wheel spin under control just a bit and come home to the end with some of these restarts going pretty much in midway through turns 3 and 4. How did you think your reaction times were, especially with trying to time that right with the leaders?
I've been pretty lucky. In the street stocks, for some reason, I can time the restarts pretty well. But at the same time, that can create problems because if you watch a couple of restarts, I almost spun out Mike Redding, and then that would have been horrible if that had happened. So I had to grab the brakes a lot, and that's just how it goes in these street stocks when the track gets slick. There's some patience, but there is a little bit of rubbing.
And of course, that is a very common thing here in dirt racing. And well, before we go ahead and let you go, anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to for your 3rd place?
Yeah, absolutely. I got to thank my best friend and my partner in other racing that we do, Gary Clinton. We run Team Red Rum, 24 scale slot cars. A lot of fun with that. So anybody who still remembers that those things exist, they are around it, and we have a lot of fun. I want to thank my wife for putting up with all the craziness that I do down here in my man cave. I want to thank the BRL. This is what I look forward to every Friday night. I want to thank the Cruise Shop for sponsoring. I have to thank Jim Beaver eSports for sponsoring. I think you guys at GSRC put on a phenomenal show. I have plenty of friends and family who think it's like watching regular TV because that's how good you are all at your practice. So thank you for that. And other than that, I just keep looking forward to coming here every Friday night and to even get on the podium against this crowd. I couldn't be happier. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. We hope to talk to you again next week at Williams Grove. That is Chris Davis in the 07, and well, everyone's giving thanks to their people. We also like to give thanks to our own. We like to thank Jim Beaver eSports for having their sponsorship of the heat races. You can follow the team at jimbeaveresports.com, or you can go ahead and check them out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to keep up with their drivers in iRacing World Championships, private leagues, and more. We'd also like to thank the Cruise Shop for continuing their sponsorship. You can contact them at 260-755-6125 or visit thecruiseshopfw.com. Remember that they are dedicated to fulfilling their clients' dreams one destination at a time. I want to give thanks to the Bootleg Racing League for having us continue coverage of their league events. And you can also see the companies that provide the software and hardware that allow us to do these broadcasts listed on your screen. I'd like to give additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our incredible music. If you're interested in having her provide some of her great work to you, you can contact her at the link in the description below. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races that aren't currently going by on your screen, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can also check out our various social media. Our Twitter is at GSR Channel, our Facebook is Global Sim Racing Channel, and our Instagram is at GSRC_Graham. Finally, if you'd like to support the channel, go ahead and check out our merchandise store over at gsrc.storenvy.com. You can also follow the link in the description below. Don't forget to hit that bright red subscribe button as well as the notification bell. Make sure to set your preference to all so you don't miss a moment here on the Global Sim Racing channel. If the button is already gray, well, we're glad that you are enjoying our content, and we thank you for your continued support. As we wrap up from the virtual Fairbury Speedway, we'd like to congratulate Steven Spees on his race win from this week. Next week, we head to Williams Grove. On behalf of the team today, co-commentator DJ Clark, director Sean Ambrose, and camera provider Dougie Beard, I'm Gary Weaver, and we thank you for tuning in to the 6th race of the Bootleg Racing League Street Stock Series. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.